Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you very much, Ken. Welcome, everybody, to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host, Josh Taylor, in tonight for Rich Walsh, joined in studio by columnist for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and host of the Paul Zeise Show on 93.7 The Fan. Paul Zeise is here. There he is.
How are we doing?
Doing okay. A lot we got to get to here. So let's start with Steelers and Chiefs tomorrow, second preseason game. We do know that we won't still see some of the starters in that game. Of course, Ben Roethlisberger will get the night off again. Mason Rudolph will get the start. He actually talked about it and said this is something he's been preparing for since before training camp. He said into the summertime, he's been kind of doing game plans and prepping for the teams that he's going to face or could possibly face. So he's actually ready for the opportunity to start. Josh Dobbs also is expected to play. So we will see both of those quarterbacks again. Both showed pretty well last week against the Buccaneers. But the first question I'll ask you, A, what did you see from both of those quarterbacks in the first game? And B, where do you stand with each of these two, and maybe who has the edge on the other one going into week 2 of the preseason?
I cannot believe the Buccos come back from a huge, exciting game against the Cubs, and you're starting with football. Oh, that's right. They're 20 games under 500 still. Never mind. You know,
Totally killed me.
I mean, seriously, wait. Can I just say, listen.
Go for it.
I've seen on Twitter here a couple. I've listened to a couple of the guys on the broadcast. They win one damn game, and we're already back to, boy, we're really excited about, wait till Musgrove next year. Look what he's going to do next year, and this and that and everything. Oh, my God. Oh, this is a team. Whatever you want to say about this team, they battle to the end. They've been doing it all year. Well, what were they doing for the last 25 damn games? Anyway, I had to get that off I'm seriously, every time this team wins a game, and here's the other part, they won a game against a horrible bullpen.
Yes.
Not a bad bullpen, a horrible bullpen
yes.
That's going to cost the Cubs a chance probably not just to win the World Series, but also to get to the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, yesterday they gave up, six runs in the ninth, including a grand slam by Bryce Harper. I mean, come on, man, really.
Yep.
Seriously, I'm happy for them. It's wonderful. It's a good feeling over there. But let's not lose our minds. Okay, about the two quarterbacks.
I forgot to ask you that question.
Yes, but Mason Rudolph will start tomorrow. Josh Dobbs will obviously be the second guy tomorrow. It was the opposite last week. Here's what I'll say, okay?
Go for it.
They really clearly want Mason Rudolph to win that job.
It looks that way.
There's no question. I mean, and the thing about it is they drafted him, in the third round last year?
Yep.
They don't want it to be a wasted pick. And, then it's like, well, it was a wasted pick the year before then, I guess. Either way, I think both guys have actually played pretty well.
I would agree.
And if they're even, like I said, if they're even, they're going to give the nod to Rudolph for two reasons. One, he's a year younger, and two, they picked him a little bit higher in the draft. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but my thing is, and I hope for instance, Josh Dobbs' sake, I hope if he's the third guy, they either cut him or look to trade him somewhere so he has an opportunity. Because to me,
that was my next question.
You're wasting him as the third guy. What's this other guy what's his nickname? The General or something? What's his nickname? The third guy?
Devlin Hodges?
Yeah, what are they calling him? What's his nickname?
I've heard the name Duck floated around.
Duck or whatever. Yeah, okay.
There's that too.
Duck is fine for your third guy. Okay. To me,
I can't disagree with that.
To me, if it's Rudolph, now if it's Rudolph's the third guy, they're not obviously going to cut him because he's only a second-year guy. But to me, Dobbs is now in his third year. If he's not going to be your backup, give him a shot. Give him an opportunity to go somewhere else and be a backup.
Especially when quality backup play in this league is so hard to find.
Right.
And the teams that have them, they tend to hang on to them pretty frequently.
Right, exactly.
I think that's a good way to look at it. Kind of moving on to the other side of the ball, and we got to get into this because it's kind of an interesting situation. Ola Adeniyi, reported by Jerry Dulac of the Post-Gazette that he's out 2 to 4 weeks with a torn meniscus. Well, Adeniyi had surgery this morning, and he posted it on social media in bed post-surgery, saying the surgery went well, and everybody's like, wait a minute, what surgery?
And the Steelers someone got on the phone and called him very quickly because that tweet came down almost as quickly as it went up.
Yeah.
And it shows you the world we live in and how different it is, right? I mean,
Agreed.
Social media is a game changer, and it all goes back to, teams want to control the message. They want this and that and everything. Some of these guys just don't care. And the whole thing about it is, hey, they forget, they lose their mind and they forget, you know what? you having surgery is news. Like,
yes.
You tweeting that, it's not like, you or I tweeting and say, hey, we were,
It's not going to just disappear into the ether.
And it's not going to be like the 5 people that are our friends that actually follow us or whatever. They oh, wow, well, I hope you're doing better. It's going to be news that has, national implications in some ways.
And it's going to get out quickly.
Exactly.
Very quickly.
That was a very bizarre thing. But again, some of these guys, they either don't think or they just don't care.
We got to take a break. We got phone calls coming up. We'll talk a little bit more about the Steelers, and maybe we'll talk some more Pirates as well. I know Paul's got another one in the chamber as far as rants go. So we'll take a break. We got to have an update from the sports desk as well. See you in a few.
The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, celebrating 25 years as Pittsburgh's #1 home exterior expert in roofing, siding, windows, and gutters, where honesty and integrity still matter.
You have new choices when it comes to your entertainment.
What I think Ben is trying to say is that we're flexible and it's all about you.
And the types of channels you want.
We got sports, we got news, we got kids, we got POW, we got WOW, you know what I mean?
And options with or without an annual contract.
That.
We're in.
Would love to get a yes from you guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? And you?
Yes.
They want to think about it.
Now there are more ways to get your entertainment so you get more value than ever.
Take your time.
That's simple, easy, awesome. Choose from new entertainment options and even customize your TV experience with Xfinity.
Join us September 28th and 29th for one great weekend with the whole family. Kids of all ages can run in the Dollar Bank Junior Grade Race on Saturday, and adults can join in the fun on Sunday for the Great Race 10K or 5K. Register today at RunGreatRace.com.
Hey.
Really? Hi, guys.
We like the gray.
It's car buying season at Nissan's Bottom Line Model Year-End event. Get the bottom line on the last of our 2019s, like the Tech Advanced Rogue and Altima. Hurry in for model year-end savings on our full line. Get total possible finance savings of $58.18 on Rogue, or get a low $199 per month lease on Rogue Sport.
The KDKA Sports Desk is brought to you by Xfinity.
Welcome back. Couple pieces of news we want to get to before we move on with the show. As we talked about it just a few moments ago, Steelers will be without outside linebacker Ola Adeniyi for at least 2 to 4 weeks. At least that is the estimated range. Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulac is reporting that Adeniyi will be out with a torn meniscus. Also, as we just discussed, Adeniyi posted on social media this morning after having surgery. Now, that post came before the team made an official announcement about Adeniyi's surgery, and it was quickly taken down after the fact. But Adeniyi was a player who was moving himself up pretty well on the depth chart and started to become a fan favorite as far as the reserve linebackers go. Meanwhile, other NFL news, Patriots wide receiver Josh Gordon has been conditionally reinstated by the NFL. Gordon will be allowed to access New England's facility and participate in conditioning or individual workouts. He was suspended for violating the league's substance abuse policy back in December, and he has had previous suspensions for the same reason. Also, some Pirates news. Today, the Pirates recalled infielder Cole Tucker from AAA Indianapolis. Tucker is one of the Pirates' top infield prospects, and he played in 38 games with the Bucs earlier this season before he was sent back down to the minors. Manager Clint Hurdle said today that Tucker will be available as short-term help while infielder and outfielder Jose Osuna serves his suspension. And it shows to mention, we should also talk about this too with Cole Tucker, that he was brought in as a pinch hitter in the bottom of the 9th inning with the bases loaded. He drew a walk on a full count pitch. That tied the game at 2 apiece, and after that, Kevin Newman drives in the run to win the game for the Pirates 3-2 against Brandon Kinsler, and that Cubs bullpen that just continues to betray them left and right.
Okay, if you're Brandon Kinsler, you're facing a guy who just came up, who wasn't exactly tearing it up in AAA.
Exactly.
He's batting about 190. Why are you pitching to him like he's hitting 390? I don't get it. I don't understand these guys.
Why are you nibbling?
Hey, look, I don't understand these guys. It's one thing if, you got somebody up there that you've got to really fear. But to me...
Like Marte.
To me,
or Bell.
If Cole Tucker beats me with his bat, so be it. But he's not going to get a free pass. And I'm going to throw him 4 pitches at the most, and 3 of them are going to be in the strike zone.
Yeah.
So my thing is, that's on him. And if you're Joe Madden, you let a guy in there to walk 3 guys, and then he's pitching to Kevin Newman, and he gets a full count there. I mean, just telling you, part of what's wrong with baseball is these bullpens. And I'm telling you what it is all of these teams now are run by these people who think they're smarter than everybody else. Right?
Tends to be a common symptom.
And so they have to, you know what I mean? They come up with all these formulas, pitch in and out and this and all these sequences. Here is something. Do you remember when the Pirates were called the Shark Tank? Do you remember that when their bullpen,
It seems like
Tony
it was eons
Watson,
ago, but it was just 4 or 5
years. It was Watson and Grilly, right, or whoever it was, you know what I mean? And you know what they did?
Jared Hughes.
They threw strike. Imagine that. They came in and they didn't give up walks. And you know what? If you're a bullpen that doesn't give up walks,
you're probably pretty good.
Probably going to be very, very effective. And that was their philosophy. We're going to throw strikes and make you beat us. And the bottom line is, how many of these bullpens can't figure that out?
There's quite a few.
It's amazing to me.
We got Pete and Squirrel Hill on the line. I think he wants to talk about Joe Madden, too. Pete, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, guys. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
I have no idea where this man guy got the reputation for being a great manager. If you look at the bottom of the ninth, Josh, to protect the one-run lead, he puts David Bodie in at third base, jumps Bryant to the outfield. David Bodie is the worst defensive third baseman in Major League Baseball. And wouldn't you know it, the second batter, Reynolds, two chopper to him, okay? A Major League third baseman makes that play easy. He lets it go right by him, and that starts the rally.
Yep.
But one thing I want to talk about the game of baseball. I know the Pirates have fallen off a cliff and everything, and there's way more Pirate fans in this time than there are true baseball fans. But there are a couple of things going on in baseball that people should pay attention to. There's a 24-year-old kid in Los Angeles that is on pace to hit 52 home runs this year, and there was a 21-year-old kid in Atlanta that has a chance to be the youngest 40-40 guy in the history of baseball, and I think people should pay attention to that because it is truly special. Thank you.
Appreciate the call. To his point.
How could there be guys that are 21, 22, 23? I mean, I thought you needed 50,000 years at AAA before you were ready to play. Oh, wait, that's how the Pirates do it.
Turns out you just need to be good.
Turns out you just need to be good and have an organization that says, all right, we're going to throw you to the fire. And you know what? We'll let you. I mean, obviously, we're talking about some super talented guys.
Yep, Cody Bellinger in L.A. and Ronald Acuna Jr.
But my point is with the Pirates, right?
To be clear.
All of these quote-unquote young guys are really 26 and 27
They're
already.
mid-20s, yeah.
I mean, so they're young, but they're not young. I mean, and don't get me started. Why are we talking about the Pirates? Seriously, we got the Steelers tomorrow.
He wanted to talk about it.
I mean, there's a BMW golf championship thing going on here. There's so many things we can talk about. Why are we talking about this team? It gives me a headache.
Matthew in Uniontown wants to talk Steelers. You want to talk to Matthew?
Hey, Matt, come on, bring it.
Matthew, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Hey, a question about the Steelers, in particular number 93, Daniel McCullers. They call him the shade tree. I was wondering how he's doing this in this training camp, whether he will be on the team again.
Yeah, thanks for the call. It seems like he's the guy that people talk about every year. Is Daniel McCullers going to make the team? Is Daniel McCullers going to make the team? I'll tell you one thing. That guy number 96, Bugs, the kid they drafted, it's pretty good. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, again, when it comes to the defensive line guys that they have, it seems like they come up with all kinds of different, but they always come back to McCullers, don't they?
They do. They do.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about a reserve defensive lineman. So, and the kid at 96 is eligible for the practice squad, right?
Yes, Bucks.
So I could see something like that happening where
that could be the reason why
they put him on the practice squad, and
That's fair. And it does seem like around this time every year it circles back around to, well, what's going to happen with Daniel McCullers? Can he make the team? Is he going to be expendable? And by the time we expect him to maybe not make the roster, you look at it and go, wait a minute, he made the roster again. So there must be something. Either there's something we see that we don't know, or it's just the fact that he's that big and they're that worried about having a guy that can play that zero technique in the case of Javon Hargrave.
If the Steelers were run by Neil Huntington, Mason Rudolph would be on the practice squad for 4 more years. But go ahead.
We're going to a break. I have no answer for that one. We'll be seeing you in a minute.
There's a million stories in the zombie city. Who's the victim?
Private investigator. So noir.
It's back. #1 Cochran's Car Stock. Our epic pre-owned savings fest. 6 days, 9 locations, more than 1,300 pre-owned vehicles, thousands in savings, all brands, all budgets. But it all ends Saturday. Hurry down before the prices go back up.
responding to being a great football team, and that's what we got in here. Don't you ever question that. 1, 2, 3, go man!
We have won its first Postal Championship.
Intercepted at the 29-yard line. And he's gone! Intercepted! Yeah, baby! Panthers win! Hail to Pitt.
Really? Hey guys, we like the red.
It's car buying season at Nissan's Bottom Line Model Year-End event. Get the bottom line on the last of our 2019s, like the all-wheel drive Altima and Rogue. Hurry in for model year-end savings on our full line. Get 0% financing for 36 months on Altima, or get total possible finance savings of $58.18 on Rogue.
Injured on the job and getting the runaround? By your employer, by the insurance company, even by your own work comp lawyer. The #1 complaint we hear about other law firms is they won't call me back. At Edgar Snyder & Associates, we always call you back. At our law firm, you get a dedicated 3-person work comp team, including your lawyer, paralegal, and legal assistant. So there's always someone to answer your questions. For a free consultation, call 1-800-94-EDGAR. We're your workers' compensation lawyers.
It's back. #1 Cochran's Car Stock. Our epic pre-owned savings fest. 6 days, 9 locations, more than 1,300 pre-owned vehicles, thousands in savings, all brands, all budgets. But it all ends Saturday. Hurry down before the prices go back up.
Keep your distance. Do not get out of that car.
Let's go. This is what happens when officers disregard the law and their duty.
We're going in? Yeah. After you, man.
Thanks.
Welcome back. Josh Taylor, Paul Zeise, Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We've had some interesting questions about both the Pirates and the Steelers. 412-575-2600 on the Borders and Borders hotline. Got a tweet from Bob. It says, it's disheartening how many people keep showing up at Pirates games. All it does is solidify nutting, doing nothing but taking the fans to the woodshed. Status quo will continue. Bob, welcome to Major League Baseball. They all do that.
Do what?
Every owner is trying to make money, even the bad teams. And there's a lot of bad teams in MLB.
Yeah, but I think part of the biggest problem is, though, with the Pirates is, again, why are we talking about it? When nobody's asking them to spend what the Dodgers and the Red Sox and all those other teams spend. But when you're almost $50 million behind the Brewers and the Reds, I don't care what your story is, there's a problem.
I agree. And here's the thing. We talk about how they're spending behind the Brewers, but even when the Brewers weren't spending that much money, they were still making better decisions than the Pirates for much cheaper. They got guys like Aguilar that were like waiver claims from Cleveland. They got guys in trades like Josh Hader. They managed to make moves when they found Thames. I think he was playing in Korea and gave him, $3 million? They made moves that weren't necessarily expensive moves, but they were still smarter decisions before they started spending money.
And they looked at their squad this year and said, we've got a gaping hole at catcher. And they went out and got Grandolph. They paid $18 million for him. They're probably not going to be able to re-sign him. But they said for 1 year, we feel like we've got a team. We're going to take a shot at it.
Roll the dice for 1 year.
We're going to pay him the $18 million. The Pirates would never do something like that.
Especially when you have everything else in place. Except maybe they probably needed some better.
They probably needed another.
But everything else was in place.
They probably needed one more pitcher. And you know what? They tried to get a couple of they even tried to spend some money on some of the bigger name guys, and they just couldn't make a deal.
Yeah, they did. And that's really comes down to, because we talk about the teams that are spending money, but the Oaklands and the Milwaukees and the Tampas, they've been just making smart decisions that haven't been that expensive, and they've been doing it for a while now. David Stearns, Billy Beane, I can't remember the name in Tampa because the guy that replaced Andrew Friedman, but these guys have had to figure out for half a decade, in Billy Beane's case, almost 2 decades now. These guys know what they're doing as far as making those smarter moves that are just better baseball decisions.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the same thing
that's
with the
the
Dodgers.
difference, honestly.
Sure, the Dodgers can make mistakes and spend a lot of money, but look at their roster, the core of their team. A lot of those guys they drafted and developed.
Yeah, they nailed it in the draft. Kids and pitching. That's the name of the game now in Major League Baseball. Look at the best teams in the game right now, and look how they're built. A lot of kids as far as their position players, kids they developed or maybe even traded for, and pitching that they spent on because they needed it at a premium.
And kids that hit home runs.
And kids that hit home runs.
Right.
kids that they develop that are outstanding athletes, guys that hit for power, guys that are exceptional defenders, and they have pitching built around it. It's really the formula that you're seeing the better teams have right now. And there are teams that are probably close to it because maybe they have the kids and they don't have the pitching, or maybe they have the pitching, or maybe they don't have a couple of extra guys that make them that much better. But that really is the difference, and that's what it's trending towards right now.
No, you're absolutely right. And the guys that hit home runs.
Yeah.
And, the Pirates aren't.
Like Acuna.
That's the problem with the Pirates system. They don't have those thumpers down there. And they better figure out something because otherwise they're going to be an 81, 82, 78 win team for the.
Well, our failed experiment to talk more about the Steelers and the Pirates in this show, it has come to an end. We're out of time, actually. So want to remind everybody, join us tomorrow on KDKA, 7 o'clock pregame coverage for Steelers and Chiefs. And, of course, at 7:30, Bob Pompiani, Charlie Batch, they have the call for Steelers in Kansas City live at Heinz Field, and that is over on KDKA. And make the switch to KDKA as well, because we'll be talking about some of this stuff with the Steelers, and we'll be talking about Pitt football as well on KDKA News at 11. For Paul Zeise, for our producer Steve Benko, I'm Josh Taylor. Good night.